Yo, how's it going, guys? Today I got a Floowandereeze video for you. This game got nerfed quite hard by the Master Duel ban list, and since then has actually become quite technical in the grind game, which is really interesting since it used to just outgrind you for free without requiring any brain cells, then slap down a barrier statue, abuse a bunch of banished floodgates, but those aren't as strong right now with decks like Kashtira running around. Quite a bit of stun still out here, unfortunately. Decks like Pearly and Sprite, sometimes even playing it themselves. Of course, Vanquish Soul also just can run shifter. They don't really care about it as much. So banished floodgates aren't as good here. So my idea with this deck is to make it very, very consistent. So we're running Small World to help search, running as many of the pot cards as we can. And then we're running some board breakers to help us go second. Since going first, we don't really need the power boost. The deck feels okay, honestly. And our extra deck is all just fodder, and we have a ton of black wings because our small world bridge is the Chinook, and you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target a face-up monster point of controls, send a blackwing synchro monster or a blackwing dragon from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then you just negate that monster and it loses some attack. So this bridges anything actually in the deck, since it's a dark winged beast with different attack and level values. So any bird gets to any other bird. Is also pretty decent with hand traps. This bridges to shifter as well, so that's definitely an option again if the meta becomes better for shifter. And if you're running other hand traps, you can bridge those two, probably. Yeah, and then the extra deck, of course, we have the Blackwing Dragon, and I have the Tuner one. And this actually lets you summon out the Blackwing Assault Dragon, technically, if you use the Ryza to recycle it back to your hand, and then use it again, so you get to send both parts of it, or if your opponent's playing Dharmatica, then you can technically make this, which is funny, but not really a real thing. Other than that, just very standard Floowandereeze list. Of course, 3 Rabina, 3 Eaglin. I'm running 2 Stree and 1 Takan. I think Takan is probably more important, but Stree plus Eaglin can actually combo, whereas Takan doesn't combo with anything except Rabina, which doesn't need something to combo with it. And Stree, if you open like some very specific hands, like if you can get this into the graveyard or something, but like at that point it's not really feasible. I'm just running this one. At 1 you have all your recursion that you need, because you can just keep recycling this every turn. Since M-Pen is at 1, you can like Stree banish it, and then Takan grabs it back. You can Takan to add back your trap card. You can use it for chain blocking and everything. So it's still very, very good, but I'd rather see the Stree if I'm going to open either one of them. Then the Chinook, the Avian for the negate. We're running 2 Mega Ryza. I used to run 2 M-Pen, 1 Mega Ryza, but I feel like I really need this for the grind game. This lets you bounce, it stacks cards from the field and the graveyard, 1 each, on top of the decks, so you can get back your cards. You can get back your Dimension Shifter, which is really funny. I was coaching a friend on the deck, and we actually had a situation where he got to loop it 3 times in a row. I'll see if I can go pull up that replay for a later video then. And you can just stack Maxi on top of their deck, which is very, very strong because this deck doesn't care about it. You never special summon. So very nice. They have the Duster. Gold Sarcophagus is basically Foolish Burial for the deck, since your birds all want to be banished anyways. The pots right here, of course. And then we have Small World. Basically, you reveal any bird, then you reveal this from the deck, and then you add any bird from your deck to your hand. This really helped finding Rabina, and you can sacrifice an Eaglin or a Stree for it or something as well. Then we're also on the Talons, the Dark Ruler, and the Evenly as our board breakers, all searchable off of the Thrust. I only own 2 copies, or I'd run 3 of this and 2 Evenly probably. We run the map at 1 because we only can run 1, unfortunately. The continuous spell, I'm running at 1. I'd rather just see my birds or consistency cards or board breakers for the most part, but this can help break boards as well. It's not bad to see since it actually does improve the strength of your end board, but that's only if you actually get to play anyways, which is my issue with adding more copies of it. I'd rather just consistently have M-Pen plus the trap than occasionally have this in addition to it and occasionally just not be able to play. But it's still a very good card. It comes up usually like later into the game though. Call by because Ash Blossom is an issue for us. The Advent, just to search our field spell, or a bird to get started, or M-Pen mid combo so we can end on 2 big birds. And then of course we have the Dreaming Town here. This lets you normal summon during their turn. And then if you tribute summon level 7 or higher while it's in the graveyard, you banish it and flip all their monsters face down. Very, very crushing. Really hurts a ton of decks, this format right now. So very playable games. Very nice. You can also consider running multiple if you think it's easier to loop M-Pen than to like add another trap than it is to like manage getting it back and then all that stuff. So that's definitely also an option, or if you need to cut something for budget, it's probably that or Gold Sarcophagus, since it's not really the most important card, and it also doesn't combo by itself. It's more of an extender. It's probably very cuttable. And the extra deck doesn't really matter. I have some punishment targets if my opponent is playing Dogmatica. We have the Blackwing Synchros and the Tuner right here, and they're all just for some niche setup for the Assault Dragon, but mainly just so Chinooka's live if we do draw it, so it doesn't become a brick that we have to run for Small World, but it's actually like Effect Bailer basically. We also have an Omega as a punishment, as a Dogmatica, Maximus or whatever, Albazoa Ascend, and then we have a small Zeus line here. You could of course run a larger Zeus line if you wanted to, but you cannot special summon the turn that you use either Floowandereeze effect of any Floowandereeze card monster, so it doesn't really ever come up. But it's nice to technically still have. Same for Goddess. You can't out towers unless you get a way to stick 4 birds and then have it become your turn, and then you Goddess it off, and then you still don't play on that turn either. So not very realistic. This is slightly more realistic. If you have like the field spell or something, you can summon 2 birds, link into this and beat over Baguska, which otherwise just ends you. But you still have to pass on that. So the extra deck really doesn't matter as much. Just slap in any Blackwing Synchros. There's common ones as well. If we type in Blackwing and then we filter by Synchro right here, you can see there's a bunch of them, just low rarity. You can just fill all of those in just so the Chinook is live. All right, then let's get straight to the replays. All right, so for our first game, we're playing against Huge Melon. Unfortunately, we're going second. And of course, we don't have any hand traps because they don't mesh that well with the deck. I'll get to that more at the end of the video when I go over the deck again. It's also why we're not running Maxi. But they just go into the full Kashtira combo here, which is actually kind of really obnoxious because Rise Heart really messes with us. And he attaches here as the 2 materials on it. And now I'm going to draw another Thrust for turn, kind of unlucky. But it's now live since they did summon out with the Shangri. Making this live, and we get to evenly match them for free. He stays on the Rise Heart here, attaching back from the face down banished, and we're gonna lead with the Advent since we need to get access to a small bird. Probably should have added Eaglin to chain block Ash better. Yeah, I don't think it really mattered. We're just gonna do this to get enough birds into rotation. What's really interesting here is you'll see he's targeting the Rabina to banish it face down, but all the small birds have the text on them. If this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead, and this just overrides that, apparently. It's like sending pendulum monsters or cards to the graveyard, and they just get sent to the extra deck instead. It's the same thing with these, so even though it should be face-down banished here, it's going to get face-up banished, and since this card is limited, that should have been the target, or M-Pen, but I'm not going to go for M-Pen here because I could lose it forever. So we make the Ryza here. We have 2 of them. This forces it out. And we're gonna stack another Theosis on top of his deck here since it's the only card in the graveyards. Because, well, Macrocosmos. Alright, and we bounce this back to the hand, so we get to use it again next turn. Alright, so they bricked because they're playing Kashtira. And now we have the map here. And we just generate a ton of advantage here, getting access to all of our birds. Gonna use the Stree Talkan combo to banish and add back the M-Pen right here. That's very important, so you can keep up your resources. And our opponent just scoops here, knowing that they're just dead at this point. Alright, for this next duel, we get to go first. Nice. We're gonna lead with the Pot of Duality here. Gonna reveal the Talkan, the Trap card, and the Thrust already. And we're gonna add the Talkan here. And since this is the one that we run 2 of, we're going to banish that, reveal the Blackwing in the deck, and that gets us to Rubina. That's the whole reason we run those cards. I'll just grab back the second Talkan, no problem. Never needed it, right? And now we'll just summon M-Pen here and add the Trap. It's always the Trap in like 99% of cases. This lets you play on their turn whenever you want to and flip their whole board face down. So this is what like your average end board will look like for the most part here. We get impermed, which is kind of awkward, and it turns out they're playing Evil Eye here. So I had to do a bunch of reading when they activated all this stuff. It's like mill 2 and everything, but I know that some of them have graveyard effects. So I'm going to pay attention here where I banish which cards, because I was reading the whole time all the cards in rotation here. So he forces out the Trap with the Intis. So we're going to normal the Rubina here. And we're going to use Rubina, Chainlink 1 to block the Ash. And now we're going to Chainlink 2 the Eaglin. Now we get the Stree here. And this is where I read his graveyard. And the Evil Eyes Unleashed has the effect. If you link summon an Evil Eye Link monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. And then you equip an Evil Eye Equip spell from your graveyard to one of the Link monsters. So of course I don't want this, because the Link monsters, they become like untargetable and everything. If they get equipped, they get like bonus effects, like what's this do? Negates effects, and this one pops or something. Yeah, and then these Evil Eyes make them indestructible and untargetable, so it's going to be a real hassle to deal with. So I'll just try to keep them off of those resources, off of the win condition for as long as possible to the best of my abilities. That's getting banished. Now we're going to grab the Eaglin here just for the Avian, but we decide to go with the Mega Monarch instead. Also, it's kind of unfortunate that I had to summon out another Eaglin. Now we have the Stree left over, but I needed the Stree to banish, and Rubina and Stree are both water monsters, and Ryza only gets that extra effect if you tribute a wind monster. So I had to get out the Eaglin since it is the wind that I need for this. Alright, now we activate the Trap here to flip his monster face down. Not really chain blocking, it doesn't really do anything. And this special summons itself from the graveyard as a quick effect if you control an Evil Eye. Which I think is pretty awkward since this just gets flipped now. But it's not like he had anything else he could do. He's gonna triple Tactics Talents to draw 2 cards. And he's taking some damage every time he activates a non-Evil Eye spell. Let's see, which one was it? The field spell. One of these cards had that effect. Yeah, wait, let me find it. Ah, there it is. It's the Unleashed that we banished. For the rest of the turn, every time you activate a non-Evil Eye card or effect, you lose 500 life points. So that's helping us a little bit. It's going to add Defeat here, which if you control an Evil Eye monster, target a monster on the field are up to 2. Instead, if you have the Selene, just bounce them back to the hand. So fortunately, he doesn't have any, so I don't really care about this. You can't activate it in the damage step when I go to swing either. And we grab Small World off the top. We don't care. We have everything of our engine already in rotation. This poor lad uses Maxi thinking it does anything to my deck at all. Even though it even says I'm locked out of special summons. If you hit the middle mouse button here, or I think it's L3 for controllers. Yeah, now we just go into the M-Pen here. And we're just gonna start continuously grabbing back all of our resources here. You can see our hand is getting massive. We have the magnificent map in rotation. Now if he normal summons, we get an additional normal summon during their turn as well. And we have the Token to grab back the trap. Remember, it banishes itself. You don't need to use 3 on this. And now we get our negate out, start beating over all of his stuff. Swing directly. And we have the map and the trap here. We have to flip his whole board face down again. We have another Ryza here to bounce all of his stuff. And he just gives up, passes back, and we're not going to make this drag on any longer and just go for lethal here. Alright, for our final game, we're going second here. I think this was I had a really bad day, and I used this to play in Duel level 18 or something. I think this was my rank up to 19. Duel's Cup does things to you. So this guy starts out with a full Mannadium combo, and I'm thinking, well, I have no clue what this does. I can't do anything to stop it. We just have to pray we top deck the Dark Ruler, and then I see right here he adds the Reframing, which if a spell trap card, it's disappearing. Help. We click on this. It's activated while you control Synchro monster. You negate the activation, so that would negate Dark Ruler no more, which would be not good at all for me. So I'm just going to the bathroom at this point. I have no clue what happens. It's coming off forever. I have no input on if this line is good or if it's bad, since I haven't crafted the deck myself yet. I'll probably get to it though. I have most of the cards by now. Goes into Cross Sheep here, makes Astro loud, gets to bring another guy back. This pattern gets another guy, synchros off a whole bunch. This gets to make the Chaos Angel as well, and goes into Elf. Gets to bring back the Mannadium balls again. Alright, and so I draw Prosperity for turn, which conflicts with Extravagance, because Extravagance has to be at the start, right? And you can't draw any cards by card effects the rest of the turn. That's all fine. But Prosperity says you cannot draw cards by card effects the turn you activate this card. So I can't use Extravagance if I have Prosperity. And more importantly, our opponent decided not to set Reframing, which is just another Omni Negate counter trap. So that's really awkward. The interruption they have here, Chaos Angel just makes all of his guys basically indestructible and unaffected. Baron is the Omni Negate, and this pattern either destroys one of my cards or negates one of my cards when they activate. So here I have to think about how can I break this board, right? I would love to see a Dark Ruler no more. I just evenly match them, and then I can set up, but I'm missing Dark Ruler, I'm missing Rabina, and I have 3 pots. I have to see what happens. So I can use Extravagance and Duality, or I can use Prosperity and Duality. And I need to see a way to Rabina, and I need to see like a Dark Ruler or something. Some way to negate his board so I can actually play. So I try to bait out the Baron by leading with Extravagance. This turns off the Prosperity. And fortunately we do get to draw into Rabina here. We still have the Duality live, and this reveals Eaglin, another Ryza, and the Talents. So it kind of sucks that our opponent now knows he has to respect Talents. And what we do here is a bit of a janky line for the small world, where we reveal the Stree in hand to banish Ryza from deck to add the Chinook. And this, I didn't believe it would ever come up, but it did here. I even small world to search for it, even though it's the bridge. But what this does is lets me negate a monster. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to negate the Dispatter. And for some reason he chains it. I don't know. Like he puts back the full Armor Master. I don't really care. And then like he plays into the Talents. Like this thing is negated for this turn effectively anyways, right? Like if he uses it, it's a hard once per turn. So it doesn't really matter. And now he plays into Talents. So now he has to negate this because I was going to take the Baron. And then he's kind of screwed. Yeah, and now his Omni Negate is gone. So I get to go battle phase. I evenly matched him here. Swipes everything. He keeps the Dispatter. Now we just normal summon Rabina. Grab Eaglin. Eaglin, grab N-Pen. Summon out the M-Pen. Grab the Trap. Of course, chain blocking here in case he has Ash or something. And now we tribute over the M-Pen here. Since Ryza can be tribute summoned by tributing one tribute summoned monster. And we can recur the M-Pen later. We also have the Trap, so we can get it back during the summon chain here as well. Plus the Apex Avian, since we have enough birds in rotation. And importantly, we out his last monster on the field. We've already permanently gotten rid of 2 of his Synchro 10s. He has a lot of stuff like in Graveyard. He already went through a lot of his extra deck here. And we put Maxi on top of his deck using the Ryza. So his next draw is a dead draw. So he only has 4 cards in hand even next turn. And we still have this Ryza back, importantly, because we did banish one face down off of the small world. So this is our last Ryza that we have. I want to have it back. So I'm just going to keep bouncing it back to hand every turn so I can just keep reusing it over and over again. So here's the Fenrir. I'm pretty sure we knew this because he opened Fenrir. Gets to bring back this guy. Chaos Ruler. And none of this threatens me yet until he summons out this. And I don't remember what I was thinking. Maybe I was thinking he makes like a second Baron. I have no clue. But he has the Synchro thing. And if this gets like popped, it gets a ton of advantage. I don't want to have to deal with that hassle. So I use the Trap here. Rabina for Eaglin. Grab the Stream. Now he banishes this, which what's really funny is I could just tribute over this. What he targeted because of how the chain links work on his turn. So that's what makes this very technical. So the way it works is I activate a Rabina, chain link 1, add all the stuff, and then on the resolution of the chain, I normal the Eaglin. And then he, as turn player, gets priority for his trigger effect or whatever. So he gets to use the Fenrir, then he targets one of my guys, which is the Eaglin in this case. And I then chainlink 2 Eaglins on normal summon effect. And on resolution, I get to normal summon. So I can just tribute summon it off, and it never mattered that he removed the body. Also, again, it wouldn't have been banished face down. I just would have lost the material there. So it did stop me from going for Street Talkan to recycle the M-Pen, summon that out, and then also summon out the Avian afterwards. So I guess it kind of forced my hand a little bit here and hurt my grind slightly, but it doesn't really matter since I have an Omni Negate. He spent his normal summon. I have follow up here, and I flip his entire field face down. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed those replays. I tried to go grab some more technical ones for you so you can see why I'm playing the way I am, where I'm explaining the thought process, where it's some maybe like quirky gimmicks or something, or some interactions you wouldn't think of if you're just starting to pick up the deck, something where I hope that everyone can learn from a little bit. And as I mentioned before, I'll be touching on why no hand traps in this deck here. So the reason is basically you are fine going first, and if you're going second, you need like blowout cards to even be able to play the game, since the deck is kind of fragile. Like you can play around Imperm or Ash in certain hands by chain blocking or by having the Advent to dodge Imperm. If it's a format where you run Book of Moon or Book of Eclipse, you can use those to dodge Imperm as well. You can play around some of the hand traps. That's not as much the issue as is if you go second, you're kind of just shut down by a single negate on Rabina for the most part, and it's still pretty easy for most of the current meta decks to end on like a negate or some forms of disruption, even through a hand trap. You can't run enough hand traps here to open 2 consistently in your starting hand, because you are really in need of just the consistency boost that all the pots and the small world and all the searching cards do. So you want to see enough engine to actually play, enough engine to maybe beat a hand trap or an interruption, and then you want some board breaks to just decimate their field so you can actually start playing. And Maxi does help you if it doesn't get negated, which, let's be real, it always gets negated. Statistically, you'll see it a third of your games, and your opponent will open Ash or Called By in around 50% of their games. So more often than not, it's just going to not actually resolve in your games. Then also going second, your opponent kind of knows you're not running any real hand traps. Shifter is dead if you draw it after Maxi. You're probably not going to run Nibiru because you can't normal that, you can't special the turn that you like use your flu effects. So if you're using your trap, you're already locked out of Nib. And they can play around Imperm very easily. Veiler isn't real. I guess there's Crow that you could be running, but it's like, it's a pretty empty bluff, to be honest. There's no way they don't just kill you if it's if you went first and you maxi them in like the draw phase or something. They'll just kill you. So I think that's also not very good. And yeah, again, the single hand traps don't do enough. It's just better to run these like blowout board breaker cards like Raigeki, Dark Hole, Duster, Lightning Storm, Evenly, Dark Ruler. Droplets isn't good because you have to like throw away too many cards from your hand. But yeah, another option I wanted to touch on for the deck that you could run is the Time Tearing Morganite. I don't own this card, so I'm not running it, but it's actually very, very good for this deck. You can run like 2 copies of it, maybe 3. This locks you out of using hand traps for the rest of the duel, which you don't care about because we're not running hand traps because they're not that good. You'd rather have the board breakers. Then you draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw. That's huge. That means you'll get way more consistency because you'll draw into either engine or a consistency card for the most part. You have a ton more advantage than your opponent, which you're already outgrinding them like mad. You saw most of the games, turn 3 or so, I had 6-7 cards in hand, plus like the full board. I had everything in rotation. And you even get to conduct 2 normal summons per turn, which is just crazy. You can go like 5 or 6 normal summons or something if you have the field spell and you're running the Floowandereeze card that nobody runs, Snowl, which gives you another 3 normal summons or something. Or no, it gives you an extra 2. But you get a bunch of normal summons. Normal summons are always good. You get to summon Ryza a whole bunch if you have multiple normal summons. That's really nice. It gets to bounce a whole bunch. It's not once per turn, which is really, really cool on it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I'll see if I can get some replays for another video of looping the dimension shifter with the Ryza and with having multiple avian negates per turn, since it's also not a hard once per turn. So if you end on it, you negate something, use the trap, summon it out, negate something, use the field spell, summon it out, negate something. That also puts up a bunch of pressure. Alright, see you guys in the next video.